You're getting worried, yes indeed. I know exactly what you need. A little sunshine will make you feel okay. Now look here, give the blues a change. Find a sunny place. Go and paint your face with sunshine.
6?
Yes.
Okay. And take it away, and I'll jump in when needed.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is to look at the minutes for October 26th. I'll put the link to them on the agenda. I don't know if you all had a chance to check them out. What did we do? We elected officers.
Yeah,
We looked-
I read them.
Okay.
Everybody else did, but everybody else did. We can move to approve them.
I second it.
I'll second if you need it.
Great. Noted. Okay, how about I do the roll call again? How's that? Okay, so Matt, I know you second. People want to mute. Okay, how about anybody who wants to abstain or vote no, speak up now?
I seconded the minutes, Pua, and I also in favor for them. So
Okay.
I vote yes.
Okay. Other commissions are being very particular about getting the roll call vote in on motions.
So I vote yes, and with that, I think Mary, I think everyone has now
already,
verbally
yep.
expressed their approval.
I agree. Okay, so we'll note that those are passed unanimously. Put that one away. Next item on the agenda is the coordinator reports. I sent them to you on Sunday, and I wonder if anybody has a question about them. Somehow it just wasn't as busy as October somehow, but we're approaching the time when we'll be doing the budget and a few in-person meetings. Big problem with the Woodbridge Board of Ed meeting was I offered to send in a camera. They said, why don't you just do it from the WebEx? They're not using microphones. They're not muting any computer that doesn't actually have somebody speaking. So there was a problem with the echo in the room. I left the WebEx recording up on YouTube, but I have also been adding segments of the camera recording as I'm able to get to them. But it was already over 3.5 hours of public session, so I can't get them up in what I have come to think of as a timely manner. Maybe I should ease up on my own standards, but those are the big notable things. We're still getting both all of Police Commission, Fire Commission, and Woodbridge Board of Ed are all meeting on the same day. Right now we have enough people to cover everything. But we've got some technical problems trying to record Zooms. So we're going to start asking the hosts if we can just ask for permission to record as a Zoom. I think that's probably the easiest thing to do. Some of the other meetings by WebEx, Recreation especially, the staff at that department has been very kind to record the WebEx and get the link to me so that I can get that together for television and YouTube. So that there's mutual support among the town staff on getting these things recorded. We're spending more for our personnel, which is a good thing because that means we actually have more help to do things. And I'm almost at the point where, well, I am at the point where I can leave them to finish a meeting if I need to go home, as I did last week when I had a head cold. Didn't want to spread the germs. What else can I tell you? What is it? Oh, one more thing. It was pertinent to the budget. The service contract for the TC1, I thought we were getting a price break on it, that it would be around 1,200 instead of 1,400. They said that option was no longer there, and it was actually going to cost us $1,795. There are some lower tier versions that we could get next year. I think for that particular machine, it's a good idea to have a service contract on it. So when we get to the budget, I would like to reconsider how we the numbers on that. So anything else I can tell you?
So did you say that some of the meetings are being done via Zoom?
The fire department, I'm sorry, the fire commission, the police commission, and human services are all by Zoom.
Okay, so with Zoom, it's possible to turn on automatic closed captioning.
By the
Uh,
host.
Yeah,
By the
for
host, yeah.
the host to do that. And to the extent that you're asking the hosts to record the meetings, if you could ask them to turn on the closed captioning, that would be a benefit.
Okay.
You know, if they can't, they can if it's too complicated or whatever. But if
Yeah.
they can, that would be a nice thing to have turned on.
Yes. Yeah, I'd like to see how that works. Okay. Noted for that. Anything else you want to move on?
So do we want to discuss here whether we'll continue on WebEx?
We should.
Okay. My preference, given the fact that I'm often driving at this hour, is as long as possible keeping the meetings as at least partially, if not completely, on WebEx or Zoom.
Mm-hmm. I believe Allison sent an email saying that for her part, her life is such that participating virtually was really the only way she could do it. And seeing that only David, he just turned off his video.
Oh, okay.
I was just going to note that nobody has the video on except me and David, which kind of indicates that people are more comfortable with using the phone, which has often happened before the pandemic, rather than using computers and definitely while doing other things. Matt's getting dinner in a restaurant right now, I think he said. I'm sure Teresa has children somewhere in the room behind her, and if Allison were here, that would probably be the same. So
Probably not to change it. We just should continue as is.
as
Yeah.
is, as long as we can. We are permitted until the end of April, and we'll see what happens. I think that phoning in has been possible before all these rules came along, as long as there was, I have to check, as long as there was somebody live in a meeting room at a certain place that was on the agenda. And I don't know if that's just somebody has to be there or a quorum has to be there. So when the time comes, we can check that out. But the meeting dates we discussed last time really ought to have a vote or some note of consensus among you. We are still going with the fourth Tuesdays, except for September. We'll go with the third Tuesday so that we won't get in the way of Rosh Hashanah.
Mazel tov.
Yeah. So do I hear consensus?
So, right, so we have to agree that those are the meeting dates. All of
Right.
the,
So I would like to make a motion then that we agree to continue meeting via WebEx through April and that we approve the calendar as you have outlined it.
Okay.
Matt Schwartz will second.
I also agree.
Mary does too.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Sure. That brings us to budget. I still think we can submit basically a zero budget, but we should juggle some things around, and especially I would like to cut back my hours come July 1st. I think I sent you a memo that I was originally hired to work, I think it was 12 hours an hour, $12 an hour for 10 hours a month. And that was just to take care of 3 meetings, and then we added, no, the selectmen added budget meetings because people wanted to bring the budget to referendum every year, and it grew from there. Then we added land board meetings, and then I suggested adding the public safety commissions. A couple of others came along and said, well, we'd like to meet too. It was convenient to add economic development, which now makes more sense if you're considering the budget and whether the grand list can be grown. Conservation Commission seems good to keep following them because open space is a big topic in town. Coopop really wants to be replaced. So otherwise I would have left them alone. But if that's what people ask for, then we'll do it. On
Who, in
the
cutting, sorry.
yes, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say in cutting back your hours, which is more of an understandable. I think we had talked about last meeting about possibly elevating Matt to Gutero. Would you look to keep the same hours like required for the job, but maybe delegate some of those to Matt?
I would have done it for Nancy, but she's tied up full time a lot of the time. Matt has said that he would like to, he's probably looking for full-time work somewhere, and my whole job as it is not supposed to be full-time. It really isn't full-time. It's at most, I think I'm averaging about 19 hours a week instead of 17. But that's still not full-time. So while we can hold on to him, I think he will put in as many hours as we offer to him.
Well, I guess my question is, would anyone here necessarily object to, as long as we can, giving Matt as many hours as we can to try to retain him? Because he sounds like he's an asset, and people that want to do this part-time don't grow on trees. And it sounds like Pooh wants to take, shed some hours anyway. Does anyone really object about?
I would recommend it if I can talk him into it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I'm all for it as long as he, as long as he goes along with it.
I'm just going to say for the long term, you're always going to be looking for somebody to do it all. And well, we'll see. Maybe somebody will show up. The other assistant we have, Nicholas Betancourt, he's younger. He's interested. I've given him a task to find some video where I want to take. There's about 1 minute of discussion during the fire commission meeting where they said, "Wait a minute, you had to answer to a fire that started because of a power strip? I thought a surge protector. I thought those were supposed to stop fires." And they went on to explain that people who plug in too many things to their power strips and stuffs, and if they don't pay attention to things tripping things off and keep turning it back on, then yes, it will overload. So I said that would be interesting if find some visuals of things being plugged into too many plugs, and we can put the audio behind it and make a PSA. So he's interested in doing more as he learns more. He only started in October because before this he was a long-term substitute teacher in Milford for the 4th grade. So he may have some other options too as we go along. And we can keep looking for interns from Southern. But yeah, well, let's see what happens this spring. Maybe we'll get more interns too. Anyway, if not now, but eventually, if I could ask you to approve a raise for me from I'm getting a little under $22 an hour right now. Raise it to 25. Cut my hours back to 12 a week. Then we can lower that line on the budget from 19 something to 15 something. And then put the remainder of that into the other budget line for general professional services, which is what we use for people like Matt and Nancy and Nick and anyone else who comes along to do that kind of work. Nick is interested in learning the post-production stuff, but I need to fix some problems with the software that we have on our computer, or put a new computer into the next grant proposal, I suppose. Clerking for you folks takes some time. I don't know if there's other town staff who would want to do that. Or if Nancy or if one of the others wanted to do it. Matt is mostly interested in the production work, in the live stuff, and does a great job solving problems on the fly. Anyway, what was the other thing I was going to propose? Oh, right. Right now, if we kept the technical supplies and services the same as before, that's 1950. We might want to change that service contract to something that's closer to 1500. I think I can find it for a tier, a service tier like that, and then put in the usual 500 for things breakdown, replacement, small bits, and then make that line 2000, an even 2000. But basically, I can juggle numbers in all the lines because we don't have that many, and just make the bottom line the same in submission. We always get a grant from CAC, so we can cover most of our overages with that. So we should be able to submit another budget on the order of 26,000, maybe $26,029, I think was adopted for the last budget year. Is this something you'd rather see laid out and looked at before you approve it?
I think it would be good to
Yeah.
have actual numbers, but I think this discussion is particularly helpful. The one of the questions that I have is if there's any rules or guidance about what goes on for salary increases for staff.
You'd have to make a request to the Personnel Committee, which is a subcommittee of the selectmen. But it would probably go through Tony. There is a form that could take a signature from the commission chairman, for example. Especially if it's for me. I don't think I could sign it. And just have it start as of July 1st, with the understanding that it would be with limited hours.
And are there cost of living considerations as well that we need to think about? I seem to recall that from other years.
Those have happened without my asking for them. Those come from whatever the cost of living raised for the union personnel. It's the same for the non-union personnel, or has been in the past. There was something that came up at the annual meeting about people getting paid for sick time not used. I forget what the phrase was. But I only recently found out that I qualified for sick hours. And I don't even know how many I get. But as far as I mean, if I can get Tony for a moment, I might be able to get some clarification on that, or from Karen Crosby.
So my inclination is to agree in principle with what you've described, and that you should talk with Tony to work out details, and then with that come up with a this is what the actual numbers would look like.
Okay. I think I emailed everybody the Google Sheet. I thought I had sent a link to the whole folder, but when I looked at it, it had this big lock icon up there, so I wasn't sure that everybody got it.
For the topic of the PTO, you're allowed to carry over 30 hours every year, and you get 1 hour for every 28.9 hours you work per week.
Okay.
I
I'll
don't
check and
believe there's an payout for it.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. So in principle, you're approving a budget on the order of $26,000. Do you want to look at it and maybe meet briefly in on December 14th to formally approve it?
That would be my inclination.
Yep, I second, I agree.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember how we did this last year, but it just seems like it's a little more difficult to just talk about it and not look at things together. And if I share my screen and you're driving in the car, then I don't think that makes sense either. So
Just that.
you have the link to the Google Sheet, but maybe I'll also email it as a PDF from Excel pages too, for hard copy.
Mhm.
That would be great.
Okay,
That would be great.
okay, I'll do that. Okay. That's really all the pressing business. I also listed that maybe for future meetings, you might want to look at, there's a draft step schedule. How do we give raises to all the people doing other stuff for us? I'm just sort of haphazardly raised somebody from $13 an hour to 15 because they were doing such a good job. People like Ryan Anastasio and Matt, it didn't make sense to pay him minimum wage for what he was doing. And I think it gets approved. The other thing to talk about is our priorities for recording meetings. Because at some point, if there are more, if we ever do really get back to in-person meetings, there's just some stuff we just can't record anymore. And I'd start with, unless something really hot comes up with recreation, I would drop recreation and Coop-Hop. I haven't even started trying to get the WebEx recordings of the Agricultural Commission meetings to put on TV because nobody's asked to watch them yet. Probably wouldn't do the EMS commission meetings. They just happen to be on the same WebEx account that I'm using, so it's easy for me to track those down and copy them. I'll be happy when the Housing Committee finishes its work because they keep scheduling their special meetings on top of days where there are 2 or 3 other things happening. Is there anything that you've really wanted to watch that we haven't been able to cover? It's just getting hard to try to do it all, is what I'm saying.
Well, Pooh, I certainly appreciate all the effort that goes in because I know David Lober says that he's up early in the mornings and tends to watch all the meetings that he can. And I think, it is important for a lot of us. They do get it. I don't know if you have an idea about how many people watch these YouTube videos and so forth, but the information is very important particularly when we're not meeting in person in any of these meetings. That's the only way people know. So I appreciate it. And I know it's our obligation as selectmen to know what's going on in these meetings. And we do try, the selectmen liaisons do try to represent to the board as a whole exactly what happened at the meetings, but it's much better to hear it in person.
Sure. Well, let's see. Somewhere I think I have a memo on what the priorities have always been in, policies and procedures are something that really ought to be looked over again. And it's sort of easy when we in the past when I've had to choose covering, say, Board of Ed over the Fire Commission, for example. If I just don't have somebody to send to the Fire Commission, we'll just never know what happened there that month. Until we read the minutes, of course.
Right.
A couple of them never wanted to be on TV in the first place. I think the library director has said that you know, kind of abashedly, but I said, well, okay, I'm not gonna, you know, horn in on them. And they do post, I think they're another one that meets by Zoom. And they post the link to their Zoom recordings and their minutes. So they do comply with freedom of information that way. And what was the other one? Human Services never used to want to be on TV. But if they have to meet virtually, then they look for our help to do it. So, and they've also had programs that they used to have like lunchtime programs for the seniors. And when people couldn't be in the cafeteria for lunch, then they would they'd ask me to put the lecture on Channel 79 and people would watch it on Channel 79. But that was good to do. So it's when they ask for help, it's hard to say no. That's what I'm saying. There's no other real decisions that you have to make at this point. So unless you want to discuss something else. Oh, Facebook. I think at the end of the coordinators report I sent, I mentioned that I've been talking about it with Betsy. I went on my own Facebook page trying to find the way to start a video event and turn off comments, but I could not find any way to anything to turn off the comments. So given that concern, I suggested to Betsy, well, at least if I have the link ahead of time for a scheduled YouTube stream, that she could put that on, announce that by way of the town Facebook page, and then we could share it from there to any of the groups that we think might have people interested in watching. And she thought that was a good idea and want to start that with the budget meetings, since the budget meetings especially are, we hope, of interest for people who want to know what it's all about by the time they get to annual meeting. So we're creeping towards Facebook, but
Pooh, just a quick question.
Yeah.
What's our I understand I understand kind of the background of the concern, but what's our big concern about not being able to turn off comments for doing these live? I mean, I think it's a good. I'm not trying to stand on a pedestal, but I do think it's somewhat valuable to have these things as close to live as possible for transparency purposes, especially for meetings where there's a lot on the line.
Sure.
So I think some of the issues around comments is it goes back to some of the FOI issues and about what ends up being part of a meeting. And, you know, so if you're broadcasting it and having comments, are those comments then part of the public record? And if so, are they authorized to be part of the public record? Because meetings typically, it is the option of the meeting as to what goes into the public record. This becomes especially important when you get into the issue that we had early on in the pandemic of Zoom bombing, and the issue that we've been having even more recently of people disrupting meetings. So it's really a question of how does the chairman of a meeting have the ability to maintain appropriate decorum at a meeting, be with the agenda, meet the requirements of FOI.
Yeah.
I mean, I totally understand the concerns. I guess I just want to voice, and again, I might be completely alone on this. I understand the concerns. I think the trade-off of potentially losing that instead of being able to see things live, leave it up to kind of leaving it up to chance, so to speak. Should something happen, makes me a little uncomfortable. I guess I kind of just wanted to voice that. I think they should be
Okay.
uploaded comments and all. I mean, I know,
If
I know,
you're
well, I know,
concerned,
go ahead.
if you're concerned about leaving things up to chance, having comments on is leaving things up to chance. Turning comments off is the appropriate way of preventing things from getting from being inappropriate distraction from the meeting.
Well, just for an example, we attempted to do a live in person, I believe a live or a virtual town meeting. There were some very valid issues with that meeting, and I believe people began. I don't know if that remained on YouTube. I don't know if the public had a chance to see that live or see that long term, but I believe that was removed. So I guess my concern is, is it possible for someone to manipulate this to decide, I guess manipulate something that doesn't paint them in a good image, and this isn't a partisan issue necessarily, through this justification.
So with the comments, you have no way of somebody saying, I live on 123 Mockingbird Lane, Woodbridge, Connecticut, where when people make comments in public meetings, they need to identify where they're doing so. Secondly, with manipulation, I mean, you can manipulate anything into your favor or disfavor with any format or any platform. It's just based on how you want to view it and how you want to control it. The problem with Facebook Live, the security is not there. The platform is not stable enough. And secondly, the potential for this kind of, if you want to call it comment bombing or, basically trolling on those comments are higher than obviously controlling it with the comments off.
For our live streams on YouTube, I always have the live chat on, and it's almost never used. There are the only comments that have been coming in the past week have been iterations from supposedly female persons saying, "Oh my God, I really needed this," and one of them was new sex video at this site. And that's the kind of stuff we get. I have the option to mute them. I do. There was one comment during about trees being erroneously removed from some land trust property in the course of the inland wetlands meeting, and I can just forward to the building official, the not building official. I just forward them to Chris to send to the appropriate commission. But I think either with Facebook or with YouTube, these comments can be kind of anonymous. And that's a problem. That's not really public comment. But in any case, I'm not in charge of the Facebook page. So I defer to the people who are responsible for it. And right now, getting the link live now, special Board of Selectmen meeting Tuesday, November 30th, can be put up. And then if I tell you all about it, if I share it, then you can share it. And if you can find the link, then you can watch it live.
All right, I'll I don't know. I guess I just wanted to voice that concern. I understand. I understand the points of view of both sides. I'm personally opposed to it. Personally opposed to this, but not enough to, I'll get off my pedestal for now.
Okay. So Tuesday, December 14th, 7:30 again?
Sounds good.
And I'll get you some hard numbers before that. So it can be, if, if we're lucky, we can make it a 10-minute meeting.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Is there any other business?
Nothing that requires your attention at this time.
So, lacking any other business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
I beat you by a dog's hair, Mary.
But everybody, happy Thanksgiving.
And you too.
Happy
Happy
Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thanksgiving. So
Happy
I
Thanksgiving.
would suggest to signal your assent to the motion to adjourn. You can leave the meeting, which will signal your assent.
Good
Thank you
enough for
all.
me.
Have a great Thanksgiving.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
I'll watch you all leave.